Hello, if you want to watch exclusive lemon content on What If Naruto, then go to my Boosty. The first link in the description here contains such hot stories for adults, such as What If Naruto was a daddy for Sarada, or Kushina and Mikoto vulgar Naruto mommies. Follow the link and enjoy. I'm waiting for you.
I hope it is in Viv mode. As you can see here, I leave you with a new chapter of Mario series, and without anything else to say, I leave you with the video. What would have happened if Naruto was trained by Kurama and given a legendary bloodline? If you want a greeting, ask for it in the posted comment. Well, let's just get started. Chapter 1: The stone came out of nowhere. To be fair, even if he had realized it was coming, Naruto would have had maybe a 50% chance of dodging it. Normally he would have been taller, but the part of his mind that would normally notice such things was obsessed with the fact that the universe seemed to be naturally unfair. He was expelled from the orphanage at the age of 5. Ironically, the stone that hit him had not been thrown by one of the many ignorant villagers who hated him for reasons he did not understand and had never told him. He simply fell from the top of the collapsed wall he was curled up against, destabilized by the combination of aging mortar and the gentle but variable breeze. Normally, it would have just left a bruise. If he had been asleep, he would never have noticed, since his healing would have fixed it in the morning, leaving perhaps a little dried blood. Had he been awake, it would have resulted in some mumbling of curses, a rubbing of the head, and stomping to find a less collapse-prone place to rest. But he had been at the boundary between wakefulness and sleep, at the exact point between the two where consciousness exists. But the will to move is absent, and the impact made him spiral into his own mind. Oh, what hit me? Naruto sat up and looked around, his irritation slowly disappearing to be replaced by a strange mixture of curiosity and uneasiness and discomfort. Standing up, he looked around at the walls and ceiling of the tunnel he had found himself in, then looked down and blinked. What is that water? The thin layer of liquid flowed over the stone slabs, and, with no reason to do otherwise, Naruto followed the flow to see where it was going. After a journey that could have been as little as 10 minutes or as long as 10 hours, Naruto turned a corner and stopped when he saw it in front of him. The tunnel was blocked by a set of huge doors, their hinges sunk deep into the walls. Where the doors were located, there was a piece of paper marked only with the seal kanji. But it was what was behind the doors that caught Naruto's attention. A giant, changeable, red-furred form that unfolded and stood up. 9 tails extended from one end and at the other, a head containing bright red eyes and sharp teeth, almost as long as Naruto turned to look at him. Then my new container has come to visit me. Naruto blinked and scratched his head. Container? Where am I? Who are you? The giant beast snorted. It is considered polite to introduce yourself before asking for someone else's name. Naruto nodded, remembering many of the conversations he had overheard, as very few people wanted to talk to him for some reason. Thinking about how someone had talked to his favorite person, the old man he called Jiji or others called Hokage, Naruto bowed to the strange being. My name is Uzumaki Naruto from Konohagakure. May I know your name? A laugh echoed through the tunnel. How polite. I think I'll like you. I am known to many as the Kitsune no Kyubi. I will reveal my real name to you if you prove that you are worthy. As for your other questions, we are inside you. Mind, let's say. It's a lot more complicated than that, but for now, that description will do. And as for what I meant by container, it's simple. When you were born, I was sealed inside you. Naruto frowned as he thought while working on the explanation. Me. I think I get it. But isn't it boring here? For a moment, the Kyubi stared at him, then a sigh arose. It's less unpleasant than being in my last container, but it was complete back then. Half of my power was taken away from me when I was ripped from it, and a red-eyed man made me attack Konoha. At least this time, I have something to look at. There would still be a lot to see the world once more. Is that paper keeping you from going out? Naruto asked, and Kyubi felt. Naruto looked at him for a moment, then reached over and tried to catch up to him. What? What are you doing? Leaving you I went out, Naruto said, stretching to reach the paper tantalizingly beyond his reach. A second later, the tip of a tail crashed into him and made him fall. Oh, what was that for? I was trying to free you. And in doing so, you would have died, as I probably would too. The answer came. Besides, you never asked me if I wanted to go out. Naruto stared at him, his bruises forgotten as he tried to understand. Me? I don't understand. Why doesn't he want to go out? Why? The giant creature sighed. There's a man out there who can make me his mindless slave, and I can't defend myself from him. By staying here, even if it's boring, I'm not a slave. I may not be free, but I am not a slave. It's not fair. Naruto pouted. No one should make you a slave. I will find him and hurt him so much that he will not do it again, and you can go free. For several moments, the two looked at each other. Me. I think you mean it. You will need to grow strong and study, in order to overcome it and free myself without dying, but, if that is what you want to do, I will help you as best I can. Naruto smiled and got up from the wet floor. Walking back to the door, he smiled at the giant being. Thank you. No thanks. Now, please, let me consider things for a moment. I give you my word that I will not do anything to hurt you if you allow me to use my skills to help you. I feel they are malnourished and lacking in physical abilities, and several stamps have been placed on them that should not be there. Will they accept my help? Of course. As Naruto said this, the Kyuubi extended its tail through the bars and wrapped it gently around Naruto's waist, lifting him up to seal. First, you need to change the seal so that I can help you. Just pluck a little from each corner, no bigger than your fingernail, yes, just like that. Excellent. Now, look around you. Naruto wobbled slightly as the tail put him back down, and he looked around as red flashes flashed on the walls. In several places, the flashes seemed to stick together and outline strange shapes. What are those? Those, kid, are the stamps that shouldn't be there, placed by those who hated you for what you wear. Take this dagger and stab those seals. I'll tell you what each one is for. Naruto blinked as the Kyuubi spat out a tooth. He slid across the floor and settled down against her foot. As he picked it up, he smiled as it moved slightly, turning into a pale silver dagger with an amber-colored handle. And a small red leather bow at the end. That's Kitsune's fang. Only you can use it, and when you wake up, it will be by your side, so that you know that this was not a dream. Only you can use it, no one else will be able to touch it. Now, try it on that first stamp to your right. That one was placed to slow down your memory, making it harder to learn. One of the Yamanaka clan placed it there 3 years ago. Naruto plunged the tip of his new dagger into the invisible seal, and a second later, it vanished into view. Already starting to disintegrate as if on fire. Excellent. Now the one on the wall behind you is ready to kill you if you leave the village without permission. That one was placed by a shinobi with a blank mask. The last seal evaporated in a column of smoke, and Naruto smiled. Excellent, kid. Excellent. Now I can work to help you as I promised. What does speed, strength, and extra health sound like? I will make you the fastest and strongest shinobi in the village if you wish. That would be wonderful, Kyuubi-sama. Thank you. The Kyuubist chuckled at the childish display of gratitude. All right, kid. I will make you 5 times stronger than you would be without my help, and twice as fast. And because I like you so much, I will stimulate your senses and establish a bond so that we can talk to each other when you're awake. Does that sound good? That sounds amazing, Kyuubi-sama. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The Kyuubi smiled and began to send his power to the walls of the tells, illuminating the pipes that ran down the sides and chest. All right, first, your eyes and ears. A small adjustment, and you will be able to see perfectly at night and hear things in the distance. Eyes first. Naruto listed the Kyuubi, muttering to himself as he looked around, then frowned at a slight glint in the water. Walking towards him, he looked down and saw another outlined shape indicating a seal. That's interesting. There seems to be some resistance to the increase in strength. Ignoring the strange comments, Naruto tensed up. and pushed the fang into the invisible seal, smiling as it became visible. What the hell? The seal exploded, knocking Naruto backwards, and landed with a thud against the rapidly drying floor. For a few moments, his ears rang and his eyes blurred, then he sat up and felt the Kyuubi looking at him. There was one more seal, I missed it earlier. The Kyuubi stared at him, then looked down at the burn mark that showed where the seal had been. Oh dear, that's not good. Naruto opened his eyes and almost screamed when he found himself looking at a masked figure, who was looking at him curiously. After a few almost panic-filled seconds, recognition dawned, and he relaxed. Inu. The figure nodded and handed him a plate of ramen. Naruto's mouth watered, and with a sincere thank you, he grabbed the bowl. It exploded. Both Inu and Naruto froze when the ramen splashed on both of them, and the crushed remains of the bowl fell to the ground. Naruto's eyes widened, and he jumped to his feet. Or I tried. When he pushed against the ground, he found himself flying in the air, arcing across the street, and landing with a thud on the roof of the building opposite. What? Kit, do you remember when I was trying to increase your strength, and you got rid of the seal? Well, the Kyuubi sounded embarrassed and Naruto frowned. What happened? Just think about your questions. You don't want anyone to listen too much, they wouldn't understand. What happened? The seal was resisting the increase in strength and I put too much power into it. When you broke the seal, the power escaped before I could take it back, and it made you much stronger than I intended. I managed to alter your skeleton, ligaments, skin, and other important things, so that you don't tear yourself apart using your strength, but I'm sorry. Why do you regret it? Naruto gasped, smiling madly. That was amazing. How did you do that? Naruto looked around to see Inu crouched next to him. Oh. Hi, Inu. Kit, don't tell her what we did. I saw that you don't know what happened. How did you do that, Naruto? And why do you have blood in your hair? Naruto shrugged his shoulders. I don't know. I was trying to stand up. And the blood? I have no idea. Help. Inu took the offered arm and pulled carefully, while Naruto remained as still as possible. Once he was upright, Naruto smiled. Thank you, Inu. Can you take me to see Gigi? I don't know if I dare to move right now. The silver-haired masked ninja nodded and picked up Naruto. Tucking it under his arm, he jumped off the roof into the Hokage Tower. Sarutobi Hiruzen, the third Hokage, had seen many strange things in his life. He had fought the ninjas with Kik Henkai, which allowed them to reshape the battlefield, take down hundreds of enemies in a single move, or even predict the future. He had seen his students summon creatures larger than buildings, and had witnessed the greatest jutsus of the time, the Rasengan and the Hiraishin. None of that had prepared him to see his favorite orphan effortlessly knocking down a wall and looking embarrassed. I'm sorry, Gigi. I was just trying to lean against the wall. I wasn't sure I could sit down without destroying the chair. That's okay, Naruto. I was thinking about expanding the office anyway, he said calmly. I must say, however, that you have become very strong. Any idea how or why? Tell him that a man threw a stone at him last night, and when he woke up, they were loud, whispered the Kyuubi. Let him think it's a new lineage limit. In fact, I modified it to become one after you left. I got hit by a rock last night and woke up hard. Naruto smiled and shrugged his shoulders. I don't know why, but it's pretty good. Except for all the breaky stuff, that is. Inu and Ruzen exchanged a long look, then their attention turned back to Naruto. What were you doing last night, anyway? Hiruzen asked gently. The orphanage kicked me out. Naruto pouted, missing the sudden flash of anger in Hiruzen's eyes. The nasty lady in charge said that I was a monster and that I shouldn't be around real children. I see. Hiruzen said slowly, ignoring the crushed remains of his pipe in his hand. Normally, I'd try to find a better orphanage, but with your new strength, you're going to need help controlling it. Otherwise, you won't even be able to feed yourself. I know. Naruto sighed, rubbing his stomach. I saw what happened when I grabbed the ramen plate. How do I learn to control myself? Of that, I'm not sure. admitted Irizen. But you will need at least some specialized equipment. Your clothes, for example, you need new things to put on. Can they be orange in color? The ripping noise echoed through the tent, followed a moment later by embarrassed laughter. Gigi. Sarutobi lowered his head between his cupped hands, then gave the merchant a pleading look. Do you have something stronger? He sighed as the tailor gaped at Naruto, and the tattered garment now fell onto the pile of similar items. Like the other items, it wasn't the seam that had broken. That was leather. Reinforced with double thickness. Panting. Me. I don't have anything stronger than that here. No choice. Sarutobi said, standing up with a hidden grimace. I guess we're going to go to the Anbu headquarters to see what they have to face you. Oh, send me the invoice for those items. This is great. Naruto almost jumped out of the changing cubicle, only remembering at the last moment that such an action would probably throw him through the roof. Even normal walking tended to cause him to take unplanned arcs in the air, so he went out carefully, laying each skin as gently as he could. That looks good. Sarutobi nodded. Reinforced chainmail with leather backing is an excellent clothing fabrics lesson for you, as long as you don't try to put it on too quickly. Naruto blushed slightly at the reminder, then turned to admire himself in the mirror. Due to the cost of the material, he was dressed only in baggy trousers and a sleeveless tunic made of chainmail, sandals made of metal with a thick leather lining, and a belt composed of reinforced metal links with an oversized buckle that he could unfasten without realizing it, crushing him as he had done with the previous 3 belts. Metal plates crowned his shoulders with the Uzumaki spiral on the left. You look good, Naruto, Sarutobi said, touching Naruto's arm to break his fascination with his reflection. Now come on, we have to find you a place to live and get someone to take care of you. Naruto nodded and took the bag containing the other almost identical outfits, then stopped just before touching it. Gigi, is the bag strong enough? I don't see why it shouldn't be like this. Now let's go. Naruto slowly placed the bag on his shoulder and approached the door through which the Hokage had passed. Reaching out his hand, he gave her a slight nudge. Like Shinobi's Professor God, Hiruzen's reflexes had only weakened a little with age, so he was able to easily dodge the door that cut off the air, embedding himself in the wall of the building opposite. Oops, I'm sorry. It's okay, Naruto. He sighed without even bothering to look around. Just remember to check which way the door opens next time. That one opens inwards, or it did, anyway. Sorry. Naruto paused for a moment before sliding the door open as gently as he could. Sarutobi grimaced as the door slammed against the frame and made Anako's. Maybe a normal apartment is not such a good idea, I know. Come with me. This bunker dates back to the founding of Konoha, but when Konoha expanded, it became surplus to requirements. But it was too built to tear it down. Well, what do you think? Naruto entered the abandoned bunker on the hillside and looked around. Although they were well hidden from the outside, the windows with slits allowed enough light to enter, so that the lamps were not necessary during the day. The entrance hall led to a large hall that had a spiral staircase leading up and down. Stairs lead to half a dozen observation rooms and a quartet of windowless barracks. You may want to use one of the observation rooms as a dormitory. There is also a hatch that leads to an open area at the top, originally intended as a training area. Sarutobi said. There is a small bathroom there, but you have to be very careful when using it, and there are 2 common bathrooms upstairs. The kitchen and the dining room are there. They are designed to be used by 10 ninja squads, so it will be big enough for you. Downstairs there are more storage rooms and a couple of large combat chambers, as well as an arch to a natural cavern that has a lake, which gives you a lot of water. There is also an armory, but it was emptied several decades ago. As you get older, this has to be the most wonderful place ever. Naruto said with a smile, heading to the roof access. A gentle touch slammed it open, and Naruto came in and screamed with excitement. I have a garden. I can grow flowers, vegetables, and fruits. Hey Gigi, is there such a thing as a ramen plant? Not that I know of. Sarutobi said, joining his almost grandson in the courtyard. He looked around, and saw the fertile land, and the tree growing in the background, the petals of which promised a good harvest of cherries. I love it. Naruto laughed, bouncing, then remembered his tendency to achieve higher trajectories, and stay still. Is he really mine now? Yes, that's right. Sarutobi smiled at the young man, obviously full of joy. Starting today, this bunk bed. I mean, the house is yours. Please try not to break it. Now, I will deliver you a mattress, as well as some shelves. I am not sure that anything with doors is still a good idea. And tomorrow, we will check your new strength, and take care of training for you. Great. I'm hungry. Can we have ramen? Sarutobi paused. I'm not sure the chopsticks will be able to withstand your newfound strength, Naruto. Maybe some takeout BBQ with dango to follow. To the man. Naruto groaned, looking depressed for the first time that day. Strength sucks. Boar, do you have a report? The Anbu that had just appeared made a bow, but something about him seemed out of place. If Sarutobi hadn't known about the high levels of professionalism Anbu clung to, he would have sworn that Boar was smiling under his mask. Naruto is fast asleep. Tora is taking care of him. On the way home after having lunch with him, a group of civilians, 15 of them, tried to attack him. The results were funny. Sarutobi blinked, then began to massage his forehead. What happened? Before we could move, Naruto started throwing civilians attacking him into the air. He was kind enough about it, but we had a hard time catching them on the way down, 2 blocks away. Of them ran after one of them hit him with a club, and he became Anako's. We don't think he even noticed. Hiruzen slowly lowered his pipe, and continued massaging his head. How long before the council, Sarutobi, have you heard what that beast has done? Councilwoman Haruno howled as she burst through the door, followed by almost half a dozen other members of the civil council. He unleashed and attacked 100 people without warning. It was a massacre. He needs to die. Sarutobi continued massaging his forehead. Why did more than 90% of his problems revolve around a small child? He forgot to take the dagger I made for you for a moment. Naruto blinked without understanding. Then a specific memory reappeared and cursed under his breath. I forgot that Inu was there. I'll go get him now. It's not necessary. Just stretch out your right hand, imagine the fang in your mind, and divide. Naruto stared at the wall for a moment, then did as he was instructed. To come. As if out of nowhere, the fang materialized in his hand, and Naruto gasped. Wow. Thanks Kyubi. You are really amazing. It's amazing, and it looks really sharp. He's sharp, so sharp he can cut through anything. The blade is thinner than a piece of parchment, but stronger than the strongest steel. And the reason for that is that it is not made of anything but pure yokai. Yokai. It is a form of chakra, exclusive to demons and biju. The fan is composed of the pieces of yokai that go through the seal and absorbs them to remain solid. As he grows up, he will be able to use the fan, he will be able to change its size and appearance. But that will not happen for many years. Now, place it on your right leg, so that the tip of the blade is close to your knee. That's good. The fan will remain there until you decide to use it, and you don't have to worry about anyone else using it against you. For anyone else, except for those to whom you give it, it will be intangible. They won't be able to pick it up or even touch it. Naruto admired the dagger in the dim light. Thank you, Kyubi. This is the best thing anyone has given me. You're welcome, kid. He sleeps little now. I think tomorrow will be a busy day, okay. Naruto yawned as he sat on the futon. He bent down, grabbed the thick canvas blanket, and pulled it up as he sat down. Good evening, Kyubi-sama. Good evening, kid. The light of dawn came through the window and hit Naruto's face. Muttering under his breath, he slowly slipped under the canvas sheet and stretched out before trudging to the bathroom. Moving to the shower line, he walked over to one, then froze, his hand a bare inch from the taps. Damn, how do I do this without breaking it? I would suggest careful and as light as possible. Don't grab it, just place your finger and move it as if you were circling the faucet. Naruto followed the instructions and was rewarded with a splash of water. Reaching for the soap, she sighed as most of it quickly liquefied in her grip, some spurting out to decorate the shower walls. I guess I have to work on that. He sighed, ignoring the laughter echoing in the back of his mind. Oh well, a quick wash and then breakfast. Yeah, that would be a good idea. Your new body will need food. Naruto nodded and rubbed the soap residue into his hair, then used the resulting lather to clean the rest of his body. After a few moments of scrubbing, he let the shower clean it and then, as carefully as possible, cut off the flow. I don't think a towel will last. Try to focus your chakra. Make a ram seal with your hands like this. Yes, that's fine. Now focus on your chakra and push it into your skin. Naruto closed his eyes and a moment later, he was dry. Good job, kid. Now, why don't you get dressed if you have some food? Then we can go out and see if you can train a little on how to control your new strength. Naruto nodded as he walked towards the clothes. First, he tied on the special underpants, carefully knotting the side strings reinforced with ninja wire. Then slowly put on a pair of trousers and a new tunic. He put on his belt, looked at himself in the mirror, and, with a gesture of satisfaction, went to the kitchen, where a bag of rolls was waiting for him. A very youthful morning for you, young man. Naruto's startled jolt threw him into the air, and he grabbed at the first thing he found. When reality reasserted itself, he found himself climbing a tree, with a somewhat perplexed green-clad ninja with bushy eyebrows, looking at him almost 10 meters below. Help. I think I'm stuck. Of course. I apologize, it was very rude of me to surprise you like that. But that was an amazing jump. Are you already training on the way of the shinobi? And if so, who is your instructor? Be excellent at fanning the flames of youth to such an extent. Naruto blinked a couple of times while trying to decipher what the obviously crazy man was saying, then shrugged his shoulders. You can get a ladder or... No, a ladder wouldn't work. I would break it. Can you take me down? Please. Of course I will, or I will climb all the trees in Konoha. The obviously completely insane ninja declared, before making a hand signal and walking forward. When he reached the base of the tree, he did not stop, but walked along the trunk of the tree, much to Naruto's surprise. Upon reaching it, the ninja reached out his hand and gently plucked it from the branch, then turned and walked back to the ground level, placing it back on the ground. I am the mighty green beast of Konoha, Madoge. May I know your name, or someone who burns with the passion of youth? Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto. What are you doing? Ge struck a pose and Naruto blinked, while the sunlight shone on his teeth. I was just doing my normal morning exercises with an energica run around Konoha. Can I come too? Yes, Guy. What is it? Hokage-sama, while doing my morning jog, I met a young man who has a potential like I've never seen before. He was able to keep up with me during my morning workout. During my talk with him, I learned that he has a Kekai Genkai that gives him incredible speed and strength that he struggles to control, and that he has no family to help him. Hiruzen blinked as he considered the energetic Jonin in front of him. Gay, would this young man be a Naruto Uzumaki by any chance? Josh. That's actually the name of the youngest guy. You know him, I suppose. I do. Hiruzen said. His strength is quite destructive, so he lives in a bunker that should be strong enough to resist him. What is your interest in him? Gay took a pose of thought, and Hiruzen sighed at his drama. As you know, I have agreed to sponsor the son of a good friend of mine at the academy in 2 years. Although he lacks the ability to use chakra, but it will be a while before he can really start his training. Naruto needs help if he wants to control the conflagration of power inside him. With your permission, I would like to supervise his training before he enters the academy. Once I have helped him learn to control his power, I think it would be a great success. Lee's training partner and friend. And Ruzen thought about it for a few moments. Have you seen where he lives? Josh. I have visited the family of my future apprentice Rock Lee several times. Guy's declamation was met with a blank stare. Hokage-sama. Me. I was talking about Naruto. Guy. Ooh. Then no. I haven't seen him. Did you say bunker? Sarutobi nodded. Yes, the old bunker that was used by the 2nd Defense Unit before the expansion of Konoha. You should know, if I remember correctly, you were genin from one of the jonins who worked there. Guy's face lit up with recognition. Josh. In fact, I remember is Sebastian from youth. But having a kid living there by himself, I have an idea. Hokage-sama, I can become the guardian of young Naruto until he has control over his new conflagration of youthful energy. Another blank look was sent his way as Idusen tried to work his way through the request. Every instinct I have is on red alert. Apart from the exercises, what can you offer? Gay abandoned his nice guy pose and got serious. Hokage-sama, the young Naruto suffers from borderline malnutrition that will stop his growth if left unchecked. I can cook. I learned it since none of the restaurants could provide me with the food I needed for my training. I can also instruct Naruto in various styles of taijutsu that will teach him to control and allow him to use his new strength to the fullest. It's okay. I know there are several free rooms there, so if Naruto agrees, you can move to the bunker temporarily to keep an eye on him. However, I will assign someone else as well, and you two will receive an ongoing C-rank payment for this, along with a small stipend for the supplies. Gay took the small envelope and looked inside before she stood her ground. I understand, Hokage-sama, and with your permission, I'll go buy the food I'll need. And if I can't do that, then I will. Okay, fired. Irizen barked. When Guy disappeared, he placed his head in his cupped hands. Why do I suddenly feel worried? I really need someone to compensate for Guy's eccentricity. I got it? Gay stared at the figure at the front door, then reflexively dodged when Naruto quickly entered, forgetting his strength once again. Inu. It's good to see you. Why are you here? The Ambo laughed and took off his mask, revealing that he was wearing a second mask on the lower part of his face, in addition to having his eye angled over his left eye. The Hokage asked me to help take care of you and teach you some tricks, he said with a smile in his eyes to the excited young man. Gay may be the best taijutsu teacher in Konoha, but when it comes to ninjutsu, I am the best. Can I come in? Sure, come on in. Naruto bubbled up. So, do you know Gay-sensei already? He agreed to take care of me and cooks very good food. It's almost as good as ramen. He does know me, my young apprentice, Gay said, recovering from her surprise. In fact, Kakashi Attack is my eternal rival. You said something. Gay. Curse your style and your style, Kakashi. Naruto laughed, then looked at Inu. No, Kakashi. Are you staying too like Gay-sensei? If you don't mind, then yes. Kakashi said with another smile in his eyes. And while Gay helps you control your strength, I can help you with your chakra. I can say that you have a lot, at least as much as a high-level chunin, but a low-level jonin, so you will need to practice. And I think I may have an idea about it, but I will have to check with the Hokage first. Naruto cheers and lightly placed a hand on his shoulder to prevent him from throwing himself on the ceiling. Now, my young apprentice, do you remember the Gendel River kata that I showed you earlier? Fine. Head to the training room and practice it while my eternal rival and I talk, then I'll teach you some more. With another round of applause, Naruto darted towards the descending staircase. Both Gay and Kakashi grimaced as it bounced off the side of the ladder and out of sight. A laugh sounded after the final blow, along with an abs, causing both men to relax. Thank you, Kami, that you are here, Kakashi. Bai said quietly. I'm working on keeping his strength under control and his reflexes balanced, but he needs more help than I can provide. He can't even read or write. I have no idea what that orphanage was doing. But he was the rudest of them. Kakashi nodded, his gaze on the stairwell as he took out a storage scroll from his pocket. I see. Once you're done with it for the day, I'll try to take it through some basic chakra control exercises. Leaf balancing won't work, so I'll have to start with tree climbing. In the meantime, I've got my things sealed up here, so which room should I take? Go up the stairs. Naruto has the room with the middle window on the left. I have the leftmost one. I suggest you take the one on the far right. Oh, and Kakashi, make sure those little young orange books you read are out of reach. He's too young to be exposed to those things. Don't worry, Kakashi said as he walked up the stairs. I may be a pervert, but I don't corrupt children. That would be wrong. However, I did get a book that he might like. And don't worry, guy. There's nothing obscene about it. I stared at him, and Kakashi's visible eye widened as he thought about what he had just said. Romance. No romance at all. Besides, it's not obscenity, it's art. Gay shook her head and moved to follow her student. Gay stirred the pot, while looking towards where Kakashi and Naruto were sitting, with Naruto slowly making his way through the green cover book that Kakashi had taken out. Fragments of the story passed by and he smiled when he heard the name of the character. It was Naruto. I must admit, he mused in a low voice. I had my doubts, but the story of the absolutely brave shinobi was probably the best choice to teach him to read. Although it is by the same author as the most unfaithful of said series. I might get a copy for myself and one for Lee. From the dining room table, Kakashi looked at him and gave him a discreet thumbs up before gently correcting Naruto. As he uttered the next word, Guy smiled and added a little seasoning to boiling liquid, then tasted some. It's okay, she screamed as she served the soup in 2 ceramic bowls and one made of tempered steel. Put the book away, my pretty young apprentice and my eternal rival, it's time for lunch. Naruto nodded and carefully placed a bookmark before allowing Kakashi to close the book and move it to a nearby shelf. Gaia took advantage of the newly vacated table to slide the bowls into position, then grabbed the spoons, noticing again with wryly amused that the one Naruto was using was of incredible strength compared to the other two, and still had dent marks. Accidental squeezing while eating. Itadakimasu said almost in unison before picking up their spoons. Guy started to eat, then looked at Kakashi, who had somehow managed to inhale a third of his bowl without seeming to take off his mask. On the other side of the round table, Naruto was eating slowly but steadily, managing not to deform the handle of the spoon more than it already was. This is wonderful, Gei-sensei, Naruto said between sips. When I'm in good enough control to never cut the countertop again, will you teach me how to cook like this? I'd love to, Guy said, giving him a thumbs up and a bright smile. And your control has improved to the point that I think you can help me train one who will be my other young apprentice. He is a year older than you and has an unfortunate inability to use chakra. But his flames of youth are I think that you will help inspire him to new demonstrations of youth. He is already training hard with weights and has the opportunity to reach through hard work the level that you have achieved, thanks to your Kekai Genkai. In fact, I will not be surprised if you go to the academy together. Naruto smiled and Kakashi spoke. You'll need to work more on your chakra control, but I finally got the Hokage's permission to teach you something that might help. His name is Kage Bunshin. With your reservations, you will never be able to do a regular Bunshin, but Hokage-sama said that any form of Bunshin would work. By using it, Gei will be able to help you with your physical control, while I monitor your chakra control at the same time. That way, you will be able to learn twice as fast, or even faster. Fresh. Naruto got excited, then froze when a familiar jingle sounded. Looking down, she sighed as she saw the broken handle in her hand and the end of the spoon next to her bowl. Oh Hobbs. It doesn't matter, Naruto, Kakashi said, ruffling his hair in a reassuring manner. That one lasted a full 2 weeks, a new record. Wait a minute. Naruto looked at the broken spoon sadly as Kakashi got up and took a new one out of the reinforced cutlery drawer. Returning to his chair, he handed the spoon to Naruto, who cautiously accepted it with a smile before resuming his meal. Hi, are you the youngest student of Gei-sensei, Naruto? Naruto paused in Tsukata practice and looked around. Seeing the one she had spoken to, she did her best not to blink. At the edge of the clearing, there was a boy just a little older than him, but that was not what paralyzed him. Like Gei-sensei, the boy was dressed in a green jumpsuit with orange-colored leg warmers wrapped around his lower legs. Her hair was black, and was cut in a bowl shape, while her eyebrows were. Were they really eyebrows? Surely no one had such thick eyebrows. Except for Gei-sensei, that was. Who are you? The boy smiled and adopted a thumbs-up posture so much like Gei that Naruto blinked. My name is Rock Lee, future apprentice of the sublime green beast of Konoha, Mato Gei. Gei-sensei told me that you are also studying with him. Although he said that you were looking to control the conflagration of young fire that you have gained, to avoid harming others with your flames of youth. Naruto blinked several times as he slowly made his way through what the boy had said. His experience with Gei proved very useful. If I can, continued La, may I ask, what did my wonderful future sensei mean about his youthful conflagration of fire? It's easier to show him, Naruto said, moving towards one of the rocks surrounding the clearing. Sliding one hand underneath, he looked for the balance point so as not to let it fall, then picked it up with one hand and placed it on his head. Lee's already opened eyes somehow enlarged. It's a Kekkei Genkai, Naruto said with a smile. But it was triggered wrong, and now I have too much strength, and I don't have enough control. Gei-sensei has been helping me learn not to use my strength. Hell, I still occasionally tear my robe when I put it on, and Kakashi-sensei says it's tougher than Anbu armor. Lee looked at him, a wide smile forming on his face. Josh, you are indeed a very young person, Naruto-san. I hope one day to be this strong, and to show that one can achieve through hard work what is given to others. I would love to help. Naruto smiled, enjoying Lee's almost contagious excitement. Lee-san, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. End of the chapter. I hope you liked it. Subscribe so as not to get lost. Well, let's just get started. Chapter 2. Two blots ran through the streets of Konoha towards the academy. Although not even genin, they were moving at a speed that most chunin, and even a few honin, would have been envious of, leaving two dusty and parallel lines behind them as they went through the main gate of the academy and skating at a steady speed. Stop. Then, Naruto gasped as he smiled at his brother in everything but blood. Who won? Me. I lost track there. I don't know myself. Lee smiled as he took out a small scroll and held it out to her. Naruto channeled some chakra into him, and a couple of weights materialized from him. Placing them on his legs, Lee adjusted the leg warmers to hide them, then took some experimental steps. I know if I had been using my weights, you would have hit me. However, you are improving much faster than me. Naruto laughed. If we had done this last month, I probably would have won. I can't disagree with that statement, Naruto Nikum. Lee smiled, doing some stretches to cool down. I have been improving very fast since we met. I am glad that my hard work to fan the flames of my youth, to match its conflagration of youth, is starting to pay off. Naruto grunted as he stretched, then turned to look at Lee. You might not be able to do the rest, but in a straight taijutsu match, I think you would flatten any chunin. And once we get through the academy, it will be unstoppable, Nissan. We will be unstoppable. Lee corrected with a wide smile as they started walking towards the main entrance, where several children and their parents had already gathered waiting for the academy to open. I will show that the lack of chakra does not prevent one from being a great child. And I will encourage and train with you to fan the flames of your youth. Naruto finished, lightly passing an arm over the taller boy's shoulders and giving him a gentle one-armed hug. Well, kind to him. Lee laughed when Naruto let go of him. Your control is getting better, Naruto Nichin. That was only 5 times as strong as someone your size. I thank Akami every day that you and Gei-sensei are tough. Naruto admitted with a wry smile. I'm still afraid to touch anyone else, but you two have the best chance of surviving, if my control fails. Speaking of control, I saw you sending out cage bunchins again this morning. Lee Noto. How many and for what? My chakra control is still unstable. Shaky, damn it. It's still terrible. Send 300 each in for the trees and walking on the water, and the rest are practicing hand signs and the 3 jutsus. Lee sighed. My best friend and eternal rival, There are times when I feel that my youthful flames are dim next to yours. Sometimes I wonder how things would be if I had the ability to use chakra, even a quarter as powerful as yours. But I'm not depressed, I see it as a challenge. Naruto cautiously sat down in the chair that had been reinforced especially for him at the request of the Hokage, and placed his steel notebook on the steel and oak desk. Around him, the rest of the students were filtering in and looking for spaces to sit. Naruto looked to the left to see Lee give him a smile and a thumbs up. Don't worry, my youngest friend. Our flames of youth will allow us to overcome all obstacles so that we can become great ninjas. Does he always talk like that? Naruto was startled at the unexpected voice, causing his chair to creak in protest. Then turned and looked back to where the voice had come from. A girl dressed in a wrapped top and baggy pants was looking at him with a mocking expression. Yes. But you get used to it. He's Rock Lee, I'm Uzumaki Naruto. And Garashi Tenten, said the girl, staring at him. Why is your chair reinforced like this? The flames of Naruto and Kum's youth are a real conflagration, giving him incredible strength. Rock Lee declared, and Naruto had to restrain himself from rolling his eyes. His youth also gives him great speed and superior senses, but I have some control issues with them. Naruto interrupted. I have my usable strength below 10 times normal, but it's hard not to accidentally damage anything around me. Temtem's eyes widened in surprise. It's a Kekkei Genkai. Naruto explained almost sheepishly. The problem is that it was activated wrong when I was hit by a stone. It was meant to make me stronger as I got older, but it went from being completely off without warning. Wow. Tenten whispered. I wonder how you would do with kunai and shuriken if you are so strong. All right, kids, listen up, said a loud voice from the front of the classroom. My name is Akamichi Akima, and I am your teacher. Now it's time to register. Raise your hand when I say your name. Heihi, Ops. Everyone was looking at the training dummy that had a hole drilled directly into it. Behind the doll, a tree had an almost identical hole, as did the tree on the other side of the road, the stone wall behind the tree, the wall of the house behind that wall, and, judging by the curses that were taking place, several pieces of furniture inside the house in question. You said to throw it hard, sensei. Akima looked away from the path of destruction and sighed deeply. Okay, until further notice, you should throw Ikumi Shuriken as light as you can without sacrificing accuracy. I heard you were strong, but… come here. Now, hit the training log. Naruto nodded, took a deep breath, and adopted one of the poses Guy had taught him. Bending down slightly, he unleashed a powerful percut. The air register shrank as he arched toward the horizon, a trail of marking asillas of his trajectory. The rapid twitterable fading his step, the only noise on the practice field. It's okay, Naruto, you're excused from training. I trained with him, sensei. Roll exclaimed excitedly. Naruto Nikon has been my training partner for more than a year, and he helps us fan our flames of youth to unmatched levels. Akima looked at Lee, obviously unable to form a coherent thought. Excuse me, did I hear you say that you fought with him? Naruto turned to look at the speaker, who turned out to be a boy with long black hair and pale eyes that lacked pupils. You're Yugen Egypt, right? The correctly identified boy nodded, his gaze fixed on Lee, who was speaking in his usual excited tone. Regarding sparring with Naruto-kun, I actually do it, and it helps my speed and strength to reach heights unsurpassed by anyone except my beautiful sensei, Metoge, and my youngest friend, Naruto. Do you train with the guy who just got a training log out of Konoha? I'm holding back. Naruto protested. The silence of the spectators told him that his protest had not helped his situation in the least. Well, if you're sure, read. You two have the first match. Try not to kill each other. Lee smiled broadly and Naruto responded with his usual sly smile as they entered the ring. Naruto settled into his Hendler River pose, while Lee straightened up into a classic Goken pose. Ahem. Both figures seemed to blur as the sound of the stone-hard flesh hitting the stone-hard flesh echoed throughout the academy grounds. Clouds of dust obscured the blurred figures from the spectators' gaze as they exchanged blurred combinations of punches and kicks. Then one of the figures was thrown out of the circle and straight through a tree. All the spectators gasped. "My young friend, are you okay? I didn't hurt you, did I?" "I'm fine, Lee." Naruto laughed as he straightened up, distractedly snapping the branches that had fallen on top of him as he did so. "That was a great move you made at the end. I didn't expect it. Actually, I don't think I've seen it before." "What was it?" "A very youthful variation of the rising blade fist that was taught to me by our wonderful sensei." Lee smiled. "I wasn't sure if it would work against you, but when you made that attack in the air, I realized that you wouldn't be able to resist it." Naruto laughed and bowed to Lee, who handed it back to him. "It worked. It would have been a KO against anyone besides me. Gather your strength, and you'll probably get me out too. I will practice it with the utmost diligence." Lee laughed with pleasure. "And I will use it to enhance our flames of youth to levels unmatched by anyone else." The shocked students saw the two walking away, then one of them spoke in a trembling voice. They are even humans." Tenten sat down and took out his window box, then looked at the two boys that the class had almost unanimously designated as the dangerous duo when they were not called twin dragons of destruction or Okami, more and more popular. "It's them. Run away, run away." His eyebrows rose at the sight. Naruto was eating ramen carefully using metal chopsticks. Despite the obvious care he was taking, the chopsticks had slight dents where he had obviously squeezed too hard. While the metal bowl containing the ramen was almost an inch thick and also had a number of small pressure-induced dents. And he recognized them. His dad had done several games like that a year or two ago, and occasionally he had to make replacements. Lee's choice of utensils was also surprising. Like Naruto, he was using chopsticks, but his chopsticks were made of lacquered paper, and a small box next to his food contained several thinner paper tubes. The box in which his sushi was placed was obviously made of very thin paper with a thin layer of lacquer that prevented it from collapsing. I had to ask, "Sorry for the intrusion, but why are you two using so strange chopsticks?" "The metal ones are the only ones that don't break for me right now," Naruto said. "And Lee is working on improving his control using chopsticks that are as fragile for him as these are for me." Temtem's eyes widened. She had helped make some of those chopsticks out of metal, high-quality rolled steel with a strength index more suitable for a club or a sword. And were they as fragile as paper tubes for Naruto? How strong was he? That is indeed the case. My young friend has great difficulties with fragile items. Or even items that people like you would not consider fragile, so he needs those metal chopsticks to help him practice his control while eating. And since it is such a youthful training method with many advantages, I use these paper chopsticks to train myself in the art of... Oh, annoying. Lee sighed as he put down the broken toothpick that, in his excitement, he had accidentally knocked against the table, causing it to bend and warp, and took a new toothpick out of the box. "Don't worry, Lee." He turned away. "I blame the table for that." "Yes," Lee screamed. "I will buy the most delicate table I can, and I will use it to help me train my control. You may find it cheaper to make a table instead of buying one," Naruto quickly warned, then felt his face. "I can't believe I got caught like this. Fragile tables. I'm not sure that's a good idea, Lee." Tenten tried to hide his giggles, then his gaze slid to the knife that was apparently stuck to Naruto's leg. "Naruto-san, where did you get that knife? It's amazing." Naruto paused, then pulled the knife. To Temtem's amazement, it wasn't held in place with a hidden leash or anything like that. "How did he do that?" "It is a mystical knife that was a gift to me from someone who believed in my potential," Naruto said as Lee took a leaf and gently lowered it onto the blade. The blade cut the blade without any resistance, and Naruto placed the knife on the table and instructed him to examine it. Tenten reached out his hand eagerly, and his hand went straight through the handle as if it wasn't there. "What?" Naruto and Lee smiled at the surprise on his face. "Only I can use that knife." and I can return it whenever I want," Naruto said, raising his hand and folding his fingers, whispering the word Ben as he made him. An instant later, the knife had appeared in his hand. "It's only solid in my grip, although the blade stays sharp if I throw it against something. No one but me can use it, and I have been told that as I grow and gain more control over my chakra, to be able to make it change shape." Tenten's eyes widened, and he looked almost reverently at the sword as Naruto returned it to his thigh, where he once again fixed himself without any noticeable support. That's it. I've heard about the Raijin, a sword made from lightning. But that knife. What is it? The most amazing knife of my young friends is called Kitsune's Fan," said before he put another piece of sushi in his mouth. Swallowing, I continue. "It is an incredible sword, capable of cutting anything, and will surely be part of the youngest Naruto legend when he becomes a full-fledged ninja." Yes. What Lee said. "Kitsune Fang, wonderful knife. Sharp." Tenten laughed again. "Hello, my beautiful and young students. Does the academy continue to fan the flames of its youth?" "Josh, Gay-sensei. I am learning new things every day, and I will prove that being a hard-working genius allows even someone who can't use chakra to become a great shinobi." Naruto smiled at Lee's enthusiasm. "It was great, Gay-sensei. Today, most of the class started learning the leaf exercise. After I made it explode for the 4th time, they agreed to let me practice walking on the tree and walking on the water. Naruto ni Aikon and I had a very youthful match today," he added to him. "We fought each other to a standstill, proving that our flames of youth had not diminished." "Excellent. I have prepared another meal to feed his flames of youth," Vai said expansively as he motioned for them to come in. Firm where he was sitting at the steel-reinforced table, Kakashi made a lazy gesture, slipping an orange book into his pocket as he did so. "You need to eat well so that your flames of youth remain intact. Is it not so, my eternal rival?" Did you say something, Gay? Arc. Once again with that Moderna and too cool attitude, Kakashi. Naruto managed to suppress his giggles as he sat and looked at the food in front of him. Gay-sensei, for all his eccentricities, was without a doubt the best chef I had ever met. "Good afternoon. Hokage-sama. Please, come in, have a seat. We were just about to eat," Vai stated, and Naruto looked at the other side. "Hi, Gigi." "Hello, Naruto." "La, Kakashi." Hiruzen smiled, took off his hat, and sat down, while Guy started serving the food. "I hope you don't mind me joining you, but I wanted to check in on how you were doing. You're halfway through the first year, is everything okay?" "It sure is." Naruto smiled. "I made several new friends and—" "Thank you, Gay-sensei, this looks wonderful as always." Where I was like that. Several new friends, and I have learned a lot. Something is a little boring, but Kakashi-sensei and Gay-sensei said that if I wanted to be one of the best ninja of all time, I should learn it, so I did." "That's good to hear," Hiruzen said, then shifted his attention. "And Lee, how are your studies going?" "My youth flames are really being fanned to a real hell, youthful energy and passion with studying at the academy. And the sticks I have with my younger friend Naruto here," Lee said enthusiastically. "I am making progress despite my disability, and I hope to join the ranks of the shinobi under our command, where I will prove that being a genius of hard work is superior to being a genius of simple skill." Naruto hid a smile at Hiruzen's blank and slightly stunned expression. "Already? I see. It is. Good to hear that. Oh, thanks, Guy. Mom, this smells wonderful. Welcome back, my two favorite cute students. I made a wonderful meal to celebrate. Your flames of youth seem diminished. What happened?" Kakashi seemed to appear behind Gay and looked at the hard. Lee was using his idiate as a belt, the same way Gay was doing, and once again Kakashi had to restrain himself from sighing. Despite his best efforts to persuade him otherwise, Lee had insisted on molding himself into the image and style of the Jonin, who had seen the potential in him and found him a training partner to help him maximize his potential. "Naruto? However, Naruto-kun, where is Tuita and 8? Kakashi asked, his voice full of concern. Naruto sighed. I don't have one. Kakashi froze in shock as Gai arched his eyebrows. How is that possible, Naruto-kun? I know Kakashi trained you in Enge, Kawarim and Kage Bunsen, until you could do all three without stamps. And both he and I taught you all the other things you needed to know, so how could you not have happened? The inspectors made a most rude decision and rejected the Kage Bunsen, he said, looking worried as Naruto trudged through the door. They said that the test required a pure Bunsen, and that if Naruto could not perform such a jutsu, he could not pass. And with Naruto's chakra reserves, he can't use a pure Bunsen, and probably never will. Kakashi grunted, clenching his fists. Damn it. I was sure it would pass with flying colors. I should have followed your example, and made him my apprentice, Gai. If I go to the Hokage now, maybe I can. Gai turned around, and put her hand firmly on Kakashi's shoulder. Kakashi, although you are reading now my student, along with 2 others, Naruto is more than welcome to join my team for training. Also, I'll make sure that whenever I'm not leading my team, I'll be there to help Naruto continue to refine his control. When the next exam comes, I'll take Naruto as my apprentice, then so they can't sabotage his death. Kakashi nodded, then blinked. It just occurred to me. In this way, he has the opportunity to meet students of his own age, instead of those 1 or 2 years older than him. Gaia felt and then frowned. I heard that the last Uchiha is in that year. As the only other Sharingan carrier in Konoha, you will be assigned to my team. Kakashi finished with a sigh. I heard he's an arrogant snob, but with Naruto, I know I'll at least have a student I can get along with. Even if you have corrupted it a little with your youth. It has combined my youth with your Moderna style and your too cool attitude, creating something unique. Guy smiled, looking over to where Lee was quietly talking to Naruto. I will train him for the next few weeks until the academy restarts. Maybe trying to exhaust him will prevent him from getting into meditation, although with his endurance, that will be complicated. Kakashi nodded slowly. I don't have anything useful at the moment. Let me know if you need help with anything. Good morning, class, and welcome to your senior year. We have a new student joining us, Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto nodded to the students in front of him, his eyes moving quickly as he tried to identify them. That's a Kamichi, it's hard to mistake that body shape. Shadows and big fur, no expression, it has to be a bomb. The sleepy one is obviously a Nara, the blonde girl, Yamanaka. I wonder if I'm a Yamanaka, they're the only other blondes in the village besides me. The guy has to be Uchi to Sasuke. Wow, her hair looks like a duck's, but how does he get it like this? Boy with a dog, obviously an Inuzuka. A dark-haired girl with pale eyes. Yuga. He doesn't seem cocky like Neji, I wonder if it's his sister or something. Pink hair. What? Pink. Okay, I don't have anything. I have no idea which clan he comes from. I wonder what his special ability is. Naruto. Naruto was startled. Yes, Iruka-sensei. What did you say? Iruka sighed. I can believe Kakashi helped raise you. I said, can you introduce yourself to the class, please? Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I have studied with Attack Kakashi-sensei, who knows hundreds of Jutsushi Meito Gai-sensei. Who is the best taijutsu teacher in the village? I often do sparring with Gai's student, Rock Lee. He's the only person my age strong enough to be able to wrestle without having to hold back too much. My tastes are making friends, cooking, learning things, and ramen. I don't like people who judge others without getting to know them first, and those who try to intimidate others. And my special ability is a Kekai Henkai, which means I'm incredibly strong. How strong are you? Naruto managed to hide his surprise. The question had come from the boy Nara, who was sitting and staring at him. I really don't know. Once I hit a log almost out of Konoha, and through a kuna, and through a target dummy, and several trees. And 2 walls, a sofa, a table, a door, and on another wall. Iruka sighed. That shot is legendary, and the reason Naruto is excused shooting practice at the academy. As for the combat, none of you can expect to defeat him in a direct taijutsu fight. Naruto nodded. Only Gai-sensei and Yi-san can beat me. Sasuke scoffed. As if we were going to fall for that. You must be a real fool to think you could get away with saying that. Iruka looked at Lucia for a moment, then looked at the other adult in the room, who returned his gaze. All right, Sasuke, I give you permission to train with Naruto after lunch. Naruto, please be nice to him. In the meantime, there is an open seat for Hinata. Hinata, please raise your hand. The Yuga girl raised her right hand, and Naruto walked over and sat down, mentally thanking Kami that he had finally managed to bring his control to a level where he could pass for a boy a little stronger than normal, as long as he paid attention to what he was saying. I was doing. B. Sasuke-kun. Naruto winced as the squeals of the fangirls assaulted his ears, and Sasuke took a position in front of him, a superior smile on his face. You are facing the last Uchiha, Uzumaki. Give up now, and you won't get hurt. Naruto hid a smile. This was too perfect. Did you say something? Sasuke's expression instantly darkened when Naruto imitated Kakashi. Grunting slightly, he adopted a posture that Naruto recognized. The interceptor fist. But he has not activated his Sharingan yet, so he leaves several open spaces that I can take advantage of. To begin. Even as Sasuke tensed, preparing to attack, Naruto moved. Retaining his strength meant very little in relation to his speed, and he had been practicing with Gai and Lee without weights. To observers, he appeared to disappear and reappear right in front of Sasuke, pushing his hand into Sasuke's face. Then left and reappeared behind Sasuke, striking even as Sasuke was jerked back by the first impact. 6 more punches and Naruto returned to his starting position as if he had never moved, while Sasuke staggered, trying not to fall while recovering from the series of light slaps at speed. Sensei, I have learned a certain taijutsu movement from Kakashi. If Sasuke refuses to quit now that I have proven what is overcome, I will use the secret village jutsu on him. Iruka turned pale. I had seen Kakashi use it, and I knew exactly what he was referring to Naruto. Next to him, Mizuki scoffed. You're bluffing. Why would Kakashi teach you of all people? I don't know. Naruto shrugged his shoulders when Sasuke managed to return to his starting posture. Maybe because we live under the same roof. Do your worst, Tobe. Sasuke scoffed. I'm ready for here this time. Naruto? No. Iruka started screaming, but it was too late. Naruto had moved, his hands forming the seal of the tiger. The last technique of the secret village, 1,000 years of pain. With a stifled scream, Sasuke was thrown into the air, with both hands crossed over his butt. His fated scream was the only sound anyone heard, as almost everyone else was staring in horrified amazement at Naruto, who was half crouching with his hands outstretched in front of him. A distant splash announced that Sasuke had made contact with the pond. Do it. Iruka finished with a sigh. You know, there are some more painful and humiliating ways to defeat an opponent without doing a damage that needs medical treatment. I think I need to talk to Kakashi about what he has taught you. Gai-sensei also taught me, Iruka-sensei. Naruto said, causing those who knew Gai, or knew about him, to stare at him, their mouths hanging open in shock. He said the flames of my youth are among the brightest he has ever seen. Iruka shook his head and looked at the assembled, and still surprised, audience. Okay, I'm banning that move for all future masks on the academy grounds. And if someone is stupid enough to confront Kakashi Gai's student outside the academy, they deserve anything. Naruto, how long have they been there? Teaching you. Naruto frowned. Well, Gai-sensei started teaching me how to control my Kekkei Genkai a little after I turned 5. He waited until my 7th birthday to start my taijutsu instruction. Kakashi-sensei started me on chakra control at the same time, you know, the whole tree walking and water walking thing. And he also started teaching me ninjutsu when I turned 7. So, let's say 6 years for the control, and a little over 4 for the rest. How the hell did you fail your graduation exam? Iruka asked, with a shocked expression on his face. Naruto shrugged his shoulders. I have too much chakra to make a pure bunshin, and the examiners refused to accept any other kind. Kakashi-sensei taught me several other types. The first one he taught me was the Kage Bunshin, which I use a lot for training, and after that exam fiasco. He taught me the techniques of water clone, fire clone, and earth clone. I think it was to make the examiners look like idiots if they tried to fail me for that reason again. Iruka blinked several times. You know, for different jutsu clones. Naruto nodded. Yes. Gai-sensei taught me 3 different styles of taijutsu, but not the Goken. The one he booked for Lee, who is his apprentice, and I understand his reasons. Goken makes you stronger as you learn it, and I'm too strong as it is. He also taught me physical and mental self-control and cooking, so I really owe him. Kakashi taught me how to read, do math, history, and almost 50 different jutsu. He even tested my affinity, It's Wind by him way, and said he's going to try to arrange lessons for me on how to use it. Eirik appeared stunned by the revelations, as did several of the other students. And with all that, you failed by a simple bunshin? Iruka asked. In the name of Kami were the examiners thinking. I would have to convince the Hokage to change the graduation requirements because of this. It wouldn't bother me. Naruto slurred his words. The Civil Council is responsible for the academy, and they are trying to ruin things so that more civilian children will be fired. That's why the failure rate of the Genin test has gone up. Academy doesn't cover things ninja really needs to know. Nutritional requirements, physical conditioning and fitness levels, and Nata, there is the only Kunoichi Academy this year that I think has a clue about that one situational awareness, the art of camouflage and hiding. Not wearing bright colors like pink or red, the standard things that give you a chance not to die on your first mission outside Konoha. Instead, we learn about dead guys and shinobi rules that don't work when actually applied. If they hadn't shown me what I have, I would have been really screwed when I finally did it. For almost a minute, silence reigned as everyone stared at Naruto. He looked around and shrugged his shoulders. What? I learned from the best. And when I come out, I'll prove how good I am. Iruka shook his head. But if you need to perform a standard bunsen, and you have too much chakra for it, I'll be fine. Naruto said with disdain. Kakashi-sensei filled out the paperwork yesterday, and the Hokage approved it. At the end of the year, whether I pass or not, I will go to your team as your apprentice, as Lee is to Guy. He'd be there by now, but none of us thought the examiner would be a stuck-up asshole. Oh, hello, Fear. Do you enjoy your bath? From Iruka's side, Sasuke's dripping figure frowned. Could it be true? Sakura said as she sat next to Ino, both of them looking at their light lunches. What could be true? What Naruto Vaka said. Sakura said, touching her salad. I mean, I'm the only civilian who's near the top, everyone else is from a clan. And most of the reason I'm near the top is because I'm doing really well in the trials, and they're the whole story and stuff. I don't know. And he did not reflect. Dad has been telling me to eat more, and Mom has been trying to add more to my lunchbox, but I don't want to get fat. But firm what he said about Hinata being the only one of us who has a clue about that, she eats more than we do. But, Sakura nodded, looking over to where Hinata was sitting next to Naruto, listening to him, and occasionally turning red. My dad warned me not to try to use my family's jutsu with Naruto. He added Ino. He said that if I survived doing it, he would lock me up for being so stupid. Kami. Who is Naruto? What do we know about him? He's an orphan. Sakura said, frowning with concentration. My mom mentioned that she was born the day the Kyuubi attacked, and she lost both parents to the Kyuubi, so that's the place to start. And he did not say firmly. Tomorrow we get to the archives. I'll bring Choji and Shikamaru. Shika is lazy, but bright. You know the paperwork, Choji can help us move things around. Yeah, we'll go through the files tomorrow, and see how much we can find out about him. End of the chapter. I hope you have chapter 3. Sakura. This way? Sakura walked over and smiled at her friend and rival. Ino. Shikamaru? Shoji. I'm sorry I'm late. We just arrived ourselves. Ino said, looking at Shikamaru. The slacker here wanted to spend the whole day in bed or looking at the clouds. problematic blonde. Shikamaru complained. Ino elbowed him. All right, let's go. When they entered the registration room, Sakura took out a sheet of paper and unfolded it. I wrote down everything I knew or could remember about Naruto, as well as my deductions. Shikamaru took the sheet and scanned it quickly. Uzumaki Naruto, born on the 10th of September, the day of Kyuubi's attack. Both parents were killed in said attack, blonde hair and blue eyes, mustache birthmarks. Keri and Genkai grants increased strength and endurance, able to throw Kuna and through multiple walls. Able to defeat any student of the academy in combat, able to defeat Sesukun. Sesukun. Taught by Mato Ge Kakashi attack, meet 4 types of clones. Knis about 50 per jutsu, total can include clones. Good start. Sakura. I forgot she was hated by the majority of the people for an unknown reason, but good start. Sakura nodded her head when and didn't stop, looking around. Here we are. Records of the attack on the Kyuubi. Well, first we check if there are any Uzumaki. Uzumaki Kushina. And not read from the file. Jonin woman, before Whirlpool. Well, since she's the only Uzumaki we've been able to find, I guess she's probably Naruto's mom. Shika. It's not a family resemblance in facial structure, Shikamaru said after examining the photo in the file and the photo of Naruto that they had brought with them. In general, I would say that it is very likely. Inu nodded. He looks a little like him, and he has his last name. So, where do her eyes and hair come from? His dad? Choji asked, and Ino nodded. I agree. We need to find all the blonde shinobi who died that day, and then sort out the blue-eyed ones. Shika, keep reading, try to confirm that she is Naruto's mom. Sakura, Choji, let's search. Blonde hair and blue eyes. Sakura nodded and started working on the files. The first dozen, or so, were all aburame with black hair, then other colors began to appear. Brown, red, silver. The first blonde appeared, but he had green eyes, so Sakura returned the file to the shelf, mentally noting its location as she continued to work on the many files. After half an hour of searching, only 2 files had been placed on the table. Who would have thought? Choji exclaimed. Blonde hair is very, very rare in Konoha. I only found 4 male blondes, and only 1 had blue eyes. 7 and none respectively, Sakura said, wiping her forehead before the sweat got to her eyes. 4 and 1, said Ino. Choji, who did you find? Choji opened the file, looked at the name and swallowed. Yamanaka Kenshin. Chuni. Ino took out the file and looked at the photo for several minutes, then shook his head. The hair is the wrong shade of blonde, too light, and looks nothing like Naruto. Then this will be problematic, Shikamaru said, looking up from the other folder. This one has hair and eyes exactly like Naruto's, and similar facial features. In fact, Naruto could almost be this reborn guy. Ino leaned over, his eyes went straight to the image. Kami, you are right about his appearance, Naruto is going to get hot. Damn, I might have to challenge Hinata for him. The same smile, his eyes are the same, who he is, no way. There's no way, I can't believe it, we must have lost another blonde in the archives. Sakura leaned over and looked at the photo. Sure enough, the man in him looked exactly like an aging Naruto, and without whiskers. Then she saw the name and gasped. Naruto's father is the Yondaime Hokage. Choji leaned over to look. Wow. It must be. I mean, just look at him. Both died in a cave on the outskirts of Konoha. Shikamaru said slowly as he scanned the data. He died of severe abdominal injuries and performing a classified jutsu. She died of severe abdominal injuries and complications of childbirth. Too many coincidences. It must be them. Problems. Ino and Sakura stared at each other, unable to speak. No one noticed that the pale-eyed dark-haired girl who had been following them was hurrying out of the archives, her eyes wide with surprise. Why are you still looking at me? Naruto half screamed, which made Iruka look up from marking the papers in front of him. You guys keep looking at me like I've grown another head or something. Iruka looked at the rest of the class. Sakura, whose gaze was normally fixed on Sasuke, was actually looking at Naruto. Her eyes were filled with a strange mixture of disbelief and shock. And No was also staring at Naruto, while Choji's gaze was interested, but placid. Shikamaru was really awake, and was looking at Naruto with a calculating air. Hinata was also looking at Naruto, but Iruka mentally marked it as normal. Because he had been doing it since the first day he had joined the class. Iruka sighed, and prepared the jutsu that always worked in situations like this. Everyone shut up and pay attention. Releasing the jutsu from the big head, Iruka smiled as everyone's attention returned to the front of the classroom. Now, today's lesson is the defeat of the Kyuubi. Ino half screamed as he got up from his seat. Sir, how does the fourth reality defeat the Kyuubi? What role Uzumaki Kushina of the Hydro Massage game? Is Kushina really Naruto's mother? Why was she on the front line even though she just gave birth? Did he have the same blood limit that Naruto has? Did the Yondaime have a blood limit? What happened? Ino, shut up for a moment. Ino turned pale and sat down, while Iruka used the big head jutsu again. But his litany of questions had caught the attention of everyone in the classroom. No, many of those answers are classified. I'm not allowed to answer them at the moment. What I can tell you is what you already know, that the Kyuubi attacked Konoha, and the fourth one used a very powerful jutsu to defeat him. At the cost of his life. Defeat, not kill. Shikamaru said, her body tense. The Yondaime was a master of Fuinjitsu, better even than Jiraiya of the Sami. He probably used a seal to defeat the Kyuubi, but what happened to him? All that chakra must have gone somewhere. What kind of seal could something like the Kyuubi contain? Sakura asked, following Shikamaru's logic. Which container would be strong enough? Iruka and Mizuki were sweating. The reaction of our professors indicates that their speculations are more accurate than they are currently comfortable with. Shino said from the back of the classroom. I admit that I am curious about the fate of the Kyuubi. My clan experimented with seals to complement our fighting style, but everyone who tried failed to master Furuinjitsu to the required degree. However, we learned quite a bit about how sealing the Kyuubi was an incredibly strong entity, whatever it was that it was sealed in. It would have to be a living being with a chakra system to imprison the Kyuubi, otherwise. The yokai of the Kyuubi would have caused extreme tension in the container, causing it to break